more, have more, and give more. And now the Becoming More podcast with Dianna Kokoszka.
Welcome to Becoming More. I am here with Saen Higgins. Saen, you're from California, and you started out not with a lot of success, yet you knew what success meant to you, and you had a clear, defined goal. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, well, one of my goals was as a young person, as I didn't want to be broke. I came from, like a lot of people in my generation, my parents didn't have a lot of money. And it was a moment that I had in my life. I was 17. I was driving in the car with my mom, and we get off on this exit. I can still see it right now. And she said, under her breath, she just said, "I'm just so tired."
Oh.
And I said to her, "What's wrong, Mom?" She goes, "It just feels like the harder I work, the further behind I get." And it was at that moment that I realized we were broke. I mean, I kind of know it. I was like, okay, we don't have a lot of money. And then she was an architect, and she had graduated fourth in her class at Cal Poly, and my dad was an engineer and all this stuff. And I thought these people made money, not my parents, but that particular field. So I really started looking at that because that's what I thought I was going to do. I thought I was going to be an architect, and that wasn't really what it was all about. And I went to school for 1 week in City College, and I was in a very bad motorcycle accident and had to be taken care of, obviously, by my mom. And it was my brother had a job at a I'm gonna date myself, at a Datsun dealership.
Oh, yes, he did.
So and he's driving a brand new car, and I'm like, okay, what's he doing? I mean, I'm broke as broke can be. I've been at my parents' house for at least 6 months. So I got this job, and I was real good at sales. I was really good at it. And I had that moment, like we talked about before, with Chris from
Chris Gardner.
Chris Gardner from Pursuit of Happiness. And I actually met him in Malaysia years later, which how weird is that? And he and I had a phenomenal conversation in the green room before I spoke. But this guy came in to the dealership, and his wife had, the Rock of Gibraltar on. He obviously had money, and he was like, "Honey, any car you want." I'm like, "Okay, what is it?" And you get to know people. His name is Randy. And I said, "Randy, what do you do? What do you do and how do you do it?" Like that moment where Chris saw the Ferrari pull up. And, he said, "I'm a stockbroker." And I'm like, "Okay, I want to be a stockbroker." And as, this transaction throughout the day went on, we became good friends, and he said, "I think you'd be good at this." And I'm like, "Yeah, I didn't go to school. I didn't do this." Long story short is he called a couple of weeks later and said he had an interview for me. And I went down and I interviewed for the job, and they gave me the job, and I became real successful with that and kind of took off. And I always kind of hid behind the fact that I didn't have the college behind me. And so part of that was I would always work harder than anybody else. Mm-hmm. And then I became a manager, and then I would dial the phone more than anybody. I would, all of those things that take to be successful were out of fear of finding out that I didn't have what they had, but I knew that I could outwork, and I was outworking, I was outperforming, out results, the whole 9 yards. And, I had a moment when somebody said, "Hey, if you could figure out this whole tax lien thing, you could make a lot of money doing that." And so that's what I did. I started figuring out tax liens and going from there.
Okay, so I want to go back because you said Chris with the Ferrari in the movie. Yes. That Ferrari pulls up. Mm-hmm. That was a defining moment for him.
Yes.
Was it the rock on her hand, or just the fact that the man looked successful?
He wasn't that much older than I was.
Okay.
I mean, he was like 3 years older than I was, and I'm sitting there going, and as I talked to him, I'm going, well, this guy's no different than I am. And so there was a big, I'm like, and then again, he was saying, "You can do this." And I'm like, wait a second, I didn't get school. He goes, "We don't care. We have a training program."
So he believed in you before you believed in yourself.
100%.
How many people have you done that for, Saen?
Oh, I have to. I say this in my conferences. I know for a fact that I have to have more faith in you than you do in yourself in the beginning. I know that. Because most people that come to my conferences are trying to pivot. They're trying to do that. I've been doing something for a long time, and although it is nice and I know what I'm doing, it's not going to get me to where I need to go financially. But where do they go? There's no class that says, "Oh, by the way, midway through your life, you're going to want to change directions," and there's also fear. I've got kids going to college, I got all this stuff, and if I do something different, and if you're So what people fail to understand at that point, you would have to find somebody that's successful in whatever it is that you want to do, that is also willing to let you model what they're doing. It's like Tony, your husband and you were talking about at lunch, and I said, hey, with all the real estate training, this is what I've been telling people, find somebody that's successful, carry their books for 2 years, regardless of whether you get paid. And if you're willing to do that, you'll make more, you'll write your own check. So, and that's what I believe in everything, because I was real successful. I was, struggling in the whole financial field because it takes a while to build a book of business. But when I figured out the tax liens, I already had the foundational piece of find something that's profitable, perfect how you do it, and bring it to investors. And that's kind of what I
Okay,
did.
let's say that again, because that was brilliant. They need to hear this and write this down. So
Find something, perfect the system in it, and find somebody with money. Is that what I said?
mhm.
Okay. So one of the things that I got really good at, and again, I consumed so many books on success, and it's like, well, the one thing that everybody kept saying is don't reinvent the wheel. So what I did is I found something that was profitable. I figured out a system to develop that and then present it to other people. I didn't think I was going to do it with my money because I didn't have any money. I didn't have any money. So what I had to do is make sure that when I sat down with somebody with money, they would go, yeah, I want to make this happen. And that's exactly what happened. I found somebody with some money. They started doing some deals with me, and kind of the rest is all history.
Well, yet somebody said something about the tax liens and it caught your attention.
Yeah, so
You
somebody,
had an opportunity.
yes. So I was at New York Life at the time. I had a really good group of guys around me. These guys were very successful. One of them was number 4 in the country. He kind of took me under my wing. This is I didn't share this with you before, Diana, because I came into his office because I needed some help. And he said, what are you doing? I've been watching you. I said, oh, you've been watching me? He said, yeah, I've been watching you. He says, what do you got going on? I said, I got these meetings with these guys and I need some help. And he said, let me see this. His name was Brian. So I handed a list of about, 14 meetings I had. And he looks at me and he looks at the list. And he looks at me and he goes, you got a meeting with these guys? And I go, yeah. And he goes, how'd you get a meeting with these guys? And I said, well, I joined these nonprofit organizations and I've been pouring, sodas and stuff at these functions with their wives. And I told them that, I'm a financial guy over at New York Life, and would they mind calling their husband? They said, yeah, so that's the internet. He said, well, what'd you tell the husband? I told him we could save him $35,000 in income tax if we just gave 15 minutes. There's a new program that we have at New York Life. He says, we do. I said, yeah. He goes, what is that program? I said, well, that's why I'm in your office. And he starts laughing like you just did. And I'm like, we don't have that? And he's like, hey, Dwight, he calls this other guy, Dwight, come in here. Just tell the story, Sean. And I'm like, I didn't know it was a story, And so he's going, and pretty soon another guy comes in there, Jeff, and they're just rolling laughing. I said, you guys, seriously. He goes, I don't know what we're going to do. I says, you mean we don't have we got to, So anyways.
So now you're inventing.
I figured New York Life has got to be able to save these executives a bunch of money. This has been around for 150 years. That's all they kept telling me in the training, right? We got to figure out something. All I had to do was get the meeting. And so we got the meetings and we went down there and I started taking over pension accounts and putting safe harbor stuff. And I don't want to get into that, but I learned some stuff really, really quickly. And we started taking over pension accounts and from these meetings. And again, these guys were just, kind of really seriously took me under the wing. So we were having dinner one night and somebody there said, hey, there's this tax lien certificate thing. If somebody could figure out how they do it, you make a lot of money. And so I found an old buddy of mine that was working at in the financial industries way back in the deal. We started figuring this stuff out, and they just, again, I didn't believe it. It's 18 or 16%, 18% mandated by the government. I'm like, no, anything over 7 is risky. And then I started looking at it, I go, wait a second, this has been here 200 years. All of these things were going on. And so my first thing was perfect how this works, because there wasn't, I could find the list. The counties were not very helpful. All of these things were here. And then I start stumbling in and go, wait a second, we can actually get the properties for 15 cents on the dollar, that type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then a friend of mine recommended somebody else, somebody knew somebody that knew somebody that said, hey, Sean's an expert in tax lien certificates. So they,
Wait, did you start telling people that you were an expert or that you were dealing in it or
no, I was
studying it?
excited and I was telling friends.
Passion.
Oh my God, total passion. I mean, trust me, with me, I'll sell an ice cream to Eskimos. I mean, like, this is the greatest thing in the world. I really felt that I had just found gold. And so this guy calls me randomly and said, hey, so-and-so told me that you're an expert on tax lien certificates. I said, yes, I am. Now, I'd only been doing it 90 days. So
And you're an expert already.
I was, and I didn't realize how big it was.
Yet you knew more than the other people
Yes, I
did.
did. 100%.
So you were one step ahead of them.
100 step ahead. And I knew for a fact that this guy didn't have the time because he was a very successful attorney. So he wanted to come down with his son and follow me around for, I think, 3 days, I think it was. And I was like, okay, good. Which also put a fire under my backside because I had to teach somebody.
Yeah.
If anybody knows anything about teaching, you better know what's going on. So I went down there. Now I'm digging into things and, oh, I didn't know that. So they show up down there, and of course, the conversation went exactly the way I thought it would. They're like, well, this has been fun. We bought a lien. We're getting 16%. Okay, we want to do this more. Can you get more? And I said, yes, I can, but I got a better solution. So then I introduced them to getting the properties, and it went from there.
So you started with tax liens, then you started investing in the properties. Now you own many properties. You've helped people with fix and flips. One of my friends was introduced to all of this through you.
Yeah, her and her son have done probably, I don't know how many they've done, probably 15 still properties. I think they got 6 still right now at this point.
So let's say I want to start. First of all, you do classes, which is great because you mastered it. And now you're teaching that same model and system.
30 years later.
Yeah, and it's still going.
And it's still going. It's been around 200 years. And so, and again, I've learned so much over that time frame. I mean, Dianna, it is, first of all, I thought I was just going to be doing this for a little bit, make a bunch of money. And then that was it. I was going to, some island in my future, total fixation there. And that didn't work out real well. The more I learned, the more I thought I was going to learn this for about 3 or 4 years, teach people how to do it, and then everybody would know, and I'd be good to go.
By the way, you're doing good. I mean, you just bought a $2 million property in Florida on the ocean.
That I'm tearing down.
You're tearing down and rebuilding. So you're doing just fine there. Yet I want to go back to the beginning. First of all, you did seize an opportunity.
Yes.
So many people hear something and they don't think opportunity. They think of why it can't be done instead of how can it be done. Then you went after it to learn about tax liens. So I'm just getting started. I'm a novice. I want to come and follow you like the attorney's son did.
Right.
What's the first thing you're going to teach me about tax liens?
Well, the first thing I'm going to say, and I'm going to say this to all my classes, I said, this is going to seem counter to what you think you need to know. And then when you come back to this class, if you want to, you're more than welcome to a year from now, you're going to realize how many things you're bringing today that you don't even need to know.
Okay.
And, the first thing I say is always, the planning is the key. And so you have to start with the end in mind. And the more the students that plan for their success are always going to be the most successful. Let me back up on that. So my number one in my 10-point method is define what you want to do financially. So, if we arbitrarily take a number of, you came to me and said, I want to, I don't want to know that. I just want to do a deal. I don't have a system for a deal.
So I have to know how much I want to make.
Yeah, how much do you want to make? And so if you came to me and said, well, my husband and I, if we made $500,000 doing this, that'd be good. Okay, that's where I need to start with. So then I go, $500,000, I put that on the wall. See, a mentor of mine years ago said, Sean, you can't, this is what happened to me. I was just doing deals. How much are you going to make? I don't know. So if we say $500,000, now we've got a target. Instead of shooting the wall and painting a circle around and going, oh, hit the target,
Yeah, kind of like Peanuts did.
Right.
Brown.
Yeah, right. So what we do is we say $500,000. We say, okay, let's say for right now, just so we can fixate on the method here, that means we have to do $50,000 profit per deal, which is 10 deals. Well, that seems a lot more realistic than $500,000. So then I say, okay, well then how many lists do we need to get and look at in order to do 10 deals? So let's start, so now we're getting quantity. So if I do 36 counties and we start off with that, and we pick 6 lien states, 6 D states, 3 counties in those states, we go through my whole method. Well, now I've got a volume of information coming at it. So it doesn't become about the one deal, because if the first deal you did out of the chute only made you $20,000 and it took you 9 months to go from beginning to end of this, you're going to go, wait a second. But if you go, wait a second, I'm supposed to be doing 10, and some of them are going to make 150, some of them are going to make 20. It's the dollar cost of the whole deal. So if a restaurateur were going to open up his restaurant and then all of a sudden opened up on Tuesday and nobody was there, that'd be a poor analogy of how that restaurant or barometer of how that restaurant's going to work. We're going to need, let's do 10 deals. Okay, that's where we need to see. And then as those deals are being done, you can fluctuate and go, okay, we're making more money than 50,000. So maybe we only need to do 7 properties. So, again, I've learned so much. It's not about how much revenue you bring in, it's how much money you keep at the end of the day. So one of the things that I've really morphed over the years is you don't need to make more, you need to keep more. And that's when I started learning about taxes. That's why I started learning about retirement accounts. We've got a private retirement account that we help people set up where I can show people how they can literally manage every portion of their retirement account, where they literally can take a small number like $50,000, $60,000 in a retirement account and turn that into several $100,000 real quickly because of being administrator and the trustees. But these are things that I learned. When I tell people is, why would you want to go learn that? Why would you want to go and stumble and study? Just find somebody that's successful.
You've already done it. You've already got the system. You've
Yeah.
already got the model. You already know what it is. And it doesn't matter if they know what a deed of trust is or a tax lien or any of those things. You teach them every step of the way. And that's what's needed right now.
It isn't anything.
How long did it take you to get to mastery?
Wow, that is a great question. I don't think that I'm there yet, which is crazy because I'm still learning more and more. I mean, I just learned some things in a couple of counties. There's 5,000 tax lien jurisdictions out there, and everybody does it differently. That it's just, blew my mind. I'm like, oh my goodness, this is such a great way to make money in this particular area. Let me rephrase it. To the point where I was very competent in how I was running things, it probably took me 10 years. Literally, because I made so much money in the very beginning, and that wasn't good. I was paying taxes. I thought I had arrived. I'm doing this, I'm doing that. And I'm like, and I just didn't understand. I didn't come from money. Okay, I didn't have that background. Now I tell my nieces and nephews, you can go to school and you can study anything as long as it's finances. It's like Henry Ford, you can buy any color you want as long as it's black. I limit it. If you understand how a financial system works, I can run a car wash to a real estate business, so it doesn't really matter. And back to what you were saying before about finding that model, and I tell people, I said, you come to my class and you want to learn this, and God bless you, I will help you. But if this isn't for you, it still works for everything. It's find somebody that's successful, figure out their model, put the discipline in there, and give it the time. Give it the time.
How many people want it to be like an overnight success?
Too many. Too many get themselves in a situation where they have to, and I tell people, I said, so did you guys go to college and say, if I'm not making $200,000 by the end of the first 6 months of my college? No, it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen at all. Matter of fact, the bar lobby for lawyers is fighting because they want them to start posting how much lawyers really make when they get out of school, and then the average is not that good considering how much money they have to spend to become an attorney. If some of the colleges had to post how much money people make after they graduate from the actual education they got, not just the life experiences, I think it'd be pretty dismal.
Well,
so I get a lot of people to do that. They want and a lot of it's because I feel that they are backed up into a situation and they don't have the runway it's going to take to make that happen. Maybe or maybe not. So, another question, Dianna, is what are you willing to do to become successful? And I always have a saying, work like no one will, so you can live like no one can. I mean, you toted your kids around in the Red Flyer. I literally had no furniture in my house for the first year doing this because I was gone so much. I didn't care, but that wasn't what was important to me. I was trying to fill and build a system, and I'm still the same way. Like, let's talk about this house I just bought. So I just bought this house, $2 million. The real estate agent, Janie's going, you are not living in this house. I go, Tanya, I've been in some pretty bad houses before. And she's like, there's no way. And so I said, well, I mean, what's no way?
Yeah.
And she says, and so 5 or 6 days later, while we're still debating whether we were going to put the contract in, she went by, she called back, she goes, well, okay, maybe there is a way because I've got to figure out how to get there. I got to work with builders and the developers and everybody else like that until we can get to the point of tearing it down. And somebody says, well, you can just go rent another house somewhere else. Yeah, I could do that, but that seems like a waste of money. Plus, you said something during lunch, I don't think you realized, or at your house when you were talking about the design.
Yeah.
And had you known what you know now, you would have done things differently. I am so familiar with that. I want to be there. I want to taste the dirt, lick the paint. That's going to be my custom home. I want to make sure something's not in my mind that's not going to work there.
Well, and when you were talking about planning, it doesn't matter if they want to do tax liens and buy houses or fix and flip,
So
sell real estate or build a car wash, as you said. It really doesn't matter. It's the same thing. You've got to prepare. When you were asking me, I was showing you some of the things about the house that I love. The little table that you can pull out that looks like it's a cabinet that nobody even, well, it looks like a drawer, and all of a sudden it comes apart and it's a table. And you went, how do you do that? Putting electrical outlets in the drawers so
Making
you can
stuff
put
like that.
your phones in there and nobody has to see them plugged in. All these little things that if you sit down and say,
think about
how
it.
does my life work? And I don't think we do that with the businesses enough.
No, we don't.
When you started the tax, and okay, you hear this thing, tax liens. Did you even know what it was?
No idea. I didn't even own a house.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't even own a house. I was renting. I was barely making, money. And when you work in the financial industries, you gotta build your book of business.
How did you buy your first house?
I bought my first house. Yeah, how did I buy my first house? I got a bunch of properties that were just pieces of garbage, and I learned how to rehab them. I did a bunch of them on my own, and I did that one particular property that I got was over 100 years old. It was just horrible. And I went in there and I just put a tool belt on. I hired a contractor that was willing to let me work with him.
Okay.
And it took us 6 months and we redid it. That's the last one I've done, but I learned so much from that. So now when a contractor is talking to me, I know what they're speaking about.
Yeah.
And I dove into it. I mean, why wouldn't I? This is going to be my business. It's going to be my baby. And, again, it's if you're not well, and again, I love reading Elon Musk's latest book, the biography on him, because he talks about sleeping on the floor of that. And I just start laughing. I'm not an Elon Musk, but oh my goodness, did I do that?
Now, have you noticed that really great, successful people, I don't care who it is, they have gone through something in their life where they go, enough is enough, yet they put up with it so they can have what other people don't have.
Right.
Most people want to come in and they want to have what their parents have or their grandparents have, or they want to walk in and be instant success, but it really isn't instant, is it?
Well, and I think that, we've got a bit of a challenge right now with our younger kids because, like I told you, I did not grow up with money. So I had my first job when I could get a job. I pulled the lawnmower behind my bicycle with a rope and mowed people's lawns for $5. I picked avocados in the neighborhood and sold those. I had 2 paper routes at one point, and that's not even available anymore. But so what we do is we go to our kids, and I've made this mistake with my older son. And my younger daughter, I'm not going to make that with, we don't want them to have to struggle because we want to have this. And we're going to help them get educated. And what happened is, I just get goosebumps thinking about it, that's what made us successful. And the struggle is what made, but at the same time, I don't want to go, sorry, we're going to leave you on the side of the road and make you walk home because we want you to struggle. There's a line, there's a balance that you have to make that happen. And I think that's a challenge of that they don't understand right now because there's kind of this whole, well, what do you mean I have to show up at this time? What do you mean I have to do that? And then when you and I see a young person that is willing to do that, we just
don't you just want to add value and pour into them?
Yes.
It's kind of like our muscles. When we go and work out, we're actually putting microscopic tears in those muscles and they grow.
Yep.
And how do we expect children or young adults, as I call them, to grow if they don't have
They
that.
don't have the stresses, it's not gonna happen. It's the stresses that make you grow.
Well, and it brings you so you can handle more stresses.
Right, 100%. And you show up that you've got experience. There's the
Okay,
wisdom.
so I want to come to one of your classes and I go in, one, you tell me I've got to know how much I want to make.
Mhm.
And I write down $500,000 that I want to get from.
Then we build it backwards from there, yeah.
And then you say, okay, we're going to do 10 things and here's what you're going to do.
Mhm.
And you literally teach people about the deeds, about the
liens
counties,
and everything else.
where you go,
Yeah.
who you speak with. Do you give them the scripts to say?
Yeah, it is funny. It's so great you bring that up. The first, I think before lunch, I talk about, an old art of being able to talk to people. I said, I didn't say to email the county. Once you find a county that you're gonna be working with and you go, okay, this might be someone, you need to pick up the phone and start building a rapport. I used to build a file, like almost, what their name is, how long they've been working there, all of that stuff, because these people are overworked, underpaid, and, they're the ones that have all the deals. And so, I remember one particular time I called and this lady, you could buy them through the mail. I knew this at this county.
Right.
And I said, hey, I bought tax liens before, just never in your area, but I heard you guys are really good.
Right.
And I says, I only got a couple minutes, so I only need 2 minutes of your time and a couple of questions. And I threw some softball questions that, would qualify me as, yeah, he probably knows what he's talking about. And she said to me, hey, before we go too much further, you have to be here in person to buy these. We don't allow you to do these through the mail. Now, I know for a fact that state law in that particular state, doesn't matter where it is, but they do allow you to buy it through the mail. But if her county, just like some counties allowed masks and some counties didn't, the county's running it and it's her world, I'm just in it. So I went, okay, interesting. I made a note of that. And so we talked about a couple of other things. And I said to her, I only got one more question. And I says, something had to have happened to make it to where you make people come in there to buy liens and in person. How long have you been working this? She's 14 years. I go, what happened? She goes, oh, let me tell you. And boom, she starts telling me this story about how somebody bought these liens. They made big mistakes because it's a longer story than we have here, but I'm writing all of this down. And she and I are having this conversation. I said, we're way past our 2 minutes. She goes, no, this is good. She says, in fact, she goes, I'll tell you what, it sounds like you know what you're doing. If you want to lien and you find one that you like, just go ahead and put my attention. I'll get you anything you want.
Oh, see, it's that rapport.
It's a rapport.
Everything we want in life is through a relationship, and every problem we have is through a relationship. Why do you think they don't teach about finances and they don't teach communication or how to build relationships in school?
It's amazing because that's what it's about. My daughter's, she was having some challenges with some kids at school. She's 9 years old right now. And I go, I'm not going to get involved. So you're going to need to learn how to communicate with this, because you see these parents that get in and they want to fight the battle and they want to do this stuff. My mom didn't do that. My dad didn't do that.
My dad didn't do that either.
Right?
Like,
Yeah,
figure it out.
Figure it out. Really, is that bad? And again, I think because it's gotten so comfortable, and what you said, Dianna, was exactly right. We've taken friction out of everything, and life is tough. Get over it.
And you know what? The road less traveled.
Yes.
Oh, I loved it when it says, life is hard. And once you figure that out, it becomes easier.
Yeah. We talked about Ryan Holiday with his other book, besides Ego is the Enemy, but it's The Obstacle is the Way. And you go through that book and you're like, every obstacle that has happened in my life, as bad as it seems like you're in it, again, it's not trying to be raised in sunshine, but you go, okay, I'm going to learn something from this.
Right.
So keep your eyeballs open, because it's going to come, and I don't want to think about it 2 years from now and figure that out. I'd rather do it right now.
You and I both know it's all about mindset. So work on people's mindset in your classes. And
now, hang on, this is really important because I trick people. I'm a trickster. So you and I know the most important thing is mindset. But I can't say that up front, because they're like, I don't want the mindset stuff. I know that sounds a bunch of crap. Nobody wants it. I want to know how to make money. What do I do? It's so funny. So I got to kind of go, oh, by the way, oh, by the way, oh, by the way. And you kind of put this in. And it's really funny. After my students have done some deals and after they do that, and I go, now you want the secret handshake? Secret handshake. And it's like, well, let's talk about this. So I can spend 2 days with them without ever talking about real estate. And they will be more successful with those 2 days than everything I've taught them at that point. But they're not ready into that point. So if I started with mindset to defend them, if you and I start with mindset, they wouldn't understand the need for that because all they're thinking of, when are we going to do a deal? Are we going to do a deal? Are we going to flip a house? And then they get back and, remember, they've come to our class and somebody's told them they're crazy for doing this.
Right. Well, because, oh yeah, a few people make money.
Mhm.
You hear that a lot. A
Mhm.
few people make money doing this, but
Not everybody. Yeah, I
Not
can tell you exactly who's going to make money in this class, the one that puts the time in.
yeah.
It
And
doesn't matter. There
does
is
take time.
God has no choice. It's you put the money, you put the time, you're gonna do it.
Well, what you're talking about is every goal has a toll booth.
Mhm.
Are you willing to pay the price to go through and get the goal?
Yes, and the price does not necessarily mean monetary. It's gonna be a little sacrifice with this, a little sacrifice
Yeah.
with that. I've got other things that I've done, and it's funny, I've got a partner with my camp that we talked about, my luxury camp in Tanzania, in the Serengeti. And one of the things that we've done there, and one of the reasons we did it is because our partner, 30% partner, is Tanzanian. He's never had the opportunity to have a place like this. And so my other partner is saying, he's not making any money right now. And I went, bummer. Either are we.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, he's kind of no, he's making enough to get by. It's only been 9 months. I
Right.
said, do you know how long it took me to get to the point where I was making money? It's not like I'm purposely making him suffer on this. That wasn't in the budget. That's not what we're looking at. He knew what he was getting into. And boom, I had a conversation with him the other day. I said, hey, we've got in a budget for a new vehicle in November, blah, 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 this and that, which means a lot of money for him.
Yeah.
And he goes, Sean, I'm virtually hugging you right now. He says, oh my gosh, this has been so nice. And so again, handing him all this stuff in the beginning, you know what he would have said? Hey, we need this now. Now we need this. Instead of, hey, let's struggle. Let's figure this out. And then there's the conversations we can have too. Remember when we were doing this? And remember when we were doing that?
Willing to put in the price. And you literally said that the time that it took and the people that put in the time are successful in doing this.
Yes.
And that's the big thing. You also said everything that you have done with the tax liens, purchasing property, fix and flips, you have put in other businesses
Mhm.
like the Serengeti.
Yes.
I mean, you want to go to South Africa on a safari?
Mhm.
You're the guy
Yep.
that can help people
Yep.
do that.
Yep.
And you want experiences for people.
Yeah.
I want to just kind of end with a couple of things. One, how important is it for us to have experiences in our life over just reading books?
100%. So it's so important one of the things, and the reason I'm here in Austin with you is because of our mutual friend Brenda. And one of the things we did at the beginning of the year is I put a calendar, I sent it out to all my team members. It's called a big AS, not SS, A asterisk asterisk calendar. And it's about planning 8 things throughout the year that are going to bring you experiences that you're going to look back at. Yeah. And so one of them was coming to Austin for the eclipse, which I don't know we're going to see because of the clown. But Brenda says, oh, we're going to get, she goes, you need a whole week. I said, oh, we can do a little work, but we're going to have conversations.
Yeah.
We're going to talk. We're going to do this. And so, Brenda and I have known each other almost 40 years now. And, the conversations we can have in that moment, in that experience, becomes a live situation where you can take all the things you've read and stuff and start applying it. Plus, I'm getting out of my area, she's getting out of her area, and then we can just benefit from when we come back. So, my daughter is a perfect example. What's his name? Jack Canfield from Chicken Soup for the Soul. I went to one of his mastermind. He asked me to come to it in Hawaii. There was a small group of us, and he says, "What are you here for?" I says, "I want to be on purpose for my daughter." She was like 2 at the time. He goes, "Oh no, Sean, they all grew up. Okay, just don't worry, don't oversight." And he thought I was being a helicopter dad, like I was gonna. I go, no. I said, there are things in my life that my parents did by accident that had a huge impact in my life.
You want to be intentional.
I want to be intentional. Okay, so my daughter's 9. She's been to 5 continents. She's had, she's slept on a tent in the middle of the Mongolian desert. She's done all of these different things. And I want to keep making that happen because those are the experiences that make the difference. And now we have these conversations at 9 years old, and she looks at me and she looks at somebody and goes, "Daddy, that's not appropriate, is it?" I go, "Nope. But I didn't have to explain it to her because of her experience.
And we just finished a conference, the Moore Conference,
Mhm.
where I took people and we went to the stadium and they ran through the tunnel with the fog machines and all of the things going, and they kicked field goals and they did the passing and the obstacle courses. And then we went to write a song. And we had two musicians, two great songwriters, Annie and Monty. And they literally taught us about collaboration. They called it the 6 10 commandments of songwriting and collaboration, which was so great because it was planning, again, which you said, everything that you talked about, they used in that collaboration setting. We all wrote a song in less than an hour.
Because of the collaboration.
Because of the collaboration, people throwing things out, nobody was made wrong. They asked questions, they had things to say, one person built upon another. A lot of what you're teaching in your classes as well in making money. We also went to the Grand Ole Opry, only we got to go to where they did a lot of the filming back in the day with Hee Haw.
Okay.
And all of the country shows that were on the television. And then we got the backstage tour. We got to be on the Grand Ole Opry stage in the circle, have our pictures taken, all sorts of real fun things that you generally just don't get to do.
And so let me just back up what I said. So none of that has anything to do with writing a song, but yet the mindset that you were developing to go through the tunnel, kick the field goals, now everybody's going, I can do that because they're with a collaborative group of people that believe that everybody that they're with, yet you could have taken random strangers off the street and put them through that same thing, and you're going from there. Be careful who you hang out with.
Well, and the interesting part is having your picture with the cheerleader. That was the comfortable zone. Everybody liked that, right? Yet to go out and do some dances with the cheerleader, well, that was a little bit more uncomfortable for people. And then when they came to me and they said, we want you to kick a field goal, and I went, what? And I mean, I'm on the 30-yard line. I go, can't I be on the 10? You know,
you guys were all the way at 30.
Oh yeah, no, they had us way back there, and they put it up on the 20, and that I kicked, and I went, I want to do that again,
Right.
Because I didn't do very well. And there's something inside you that with people around, you just want to get better and better. And that's why it's so important that we collaborate with great people, that we surround ourselves with great
Seek those people out, you know. And again, I tell people, I don't care, you know, I'd love you to be part of the boat. I'd love you to go on to higher education with this and our coaching and all that, but that's not, you know, if you're not ready for that move, find something that you are ready for. But these same fundamental steps are applicable to anything out there. And it's all about the planning. You know, I always like to say this: the universe wants to help you be successful. You know, God wants to help you be successful, whatever your faith or background is, but they can't help you if they don't know what you want. So if you have no clarity in that, they're just kind of confused. And
it's like going to a restaurant.
Yeah. Yes,
you know,
100%.
If I say, I don't know what I want, well then how do I bring you anything?
Yeah.
Oh, I think I'll have a hamburger. Oh no, wait, I'm gonna have a salad. Oh wait, no, I think I'll have a steak.
Yeah.
Tell me what you want so I can.
And then halfway you order it, and then halfway in the kitchen, I think I'm gonna go with lasagna. They bring you a hamburger, you're like, well, that's what you said. I know, but I changed my. But again, going in there, like when you said, hey, where do you guys go? Hey, Mexican sounds good. I know where I'm gonna go. There's a menu on. We asked her, what's the favorite thing on the menu? Everybody had the whole, you know, I mean, it's so true because if you have clarity in where you want to go, and this is why I always tell people, it's the planning that makes you successful. Again, there's not going to be any magic pixie dust spread this next 3 days. It's just going to be fundamentals. It's up to you to take the steps and find the time to put this in a habitual form.
So let's tell everyone, where would they find out about your class if they're interested in doing this?
Yeah, you can go to higginsmethod.com.
Higgins with 2 G's.
HIGGINS method.com. I have some basic classes on there that kind of get you warmed up if that's what you want to do. You can go to SaenHiggins.com and there's classes I have all over.
And Sean is spelled different.
Yes, we got to do that. Yeah, that's my parents, dropped me several times.
Well, because I spelled it S-H-O-N and no one else spelled it that way. I wanted to teach the world that's how, yet your mother thought there was another way.
Yes, Saen. So the A is before the E. And so there was this doctor that delivered me, and this is the story she told me. And he said it has to be Saen because that's the old Gaelic way to spell. And then this is so funny because I got older, like at 21, I had to get my passport. Well, my birth certificate said SHAWN. So I had to get that amended, right? So I'm going through life every day. Every day this comes up. And then I had to get some stuff from the church about a year and a half ago. And my baptism certificate came back SEAN, and I took a picture. I texted to my 83-year-old mom, and I said, Mom, how do you spell my name? And she starts laughing, and so she told me the whole story. I go, that is not the story you told me. But yes, it is SAEN, not SEAN.
So SaenHiggins.com. And what a method you have developed.
Thank you.
Because I know my friend, Brenda, she spoke about you when we were in Israel together, and she just kept talking about your method and how it's helped her and her sons. And since her husband's passed away, she's been able to take care of herself and to do things well, based on this method. So we trust that all of our listeners will check this out and just make certain that you know what is it that you desire in life. Are you willing to work for it? Are you willing to do the planning that it takes? And if you don't know how to plan, we'll get with Sean. He'll help you, right? And we both agree mindset is key. It is going to be 95% of your success is the new research that has been done. So listen to Becoming More podcast, where we interview many people about how they became more, and they too will help you, for success leaves clues.
In your life, you deserve to be more, do more, have more, and give more. And now the Becoming More podcast with Dianna Kokoszka.
She was the only one to let me